I'm James Helder. Welcome to Full Court Football 24. Quite privileged to be joined by one of our most successful and controversial guests so far, Mr. John Sitton. How are you, John?
All right, James. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, like everybody else, just trying to get on with it.
Yeah, it's been
unprecedented times, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to come on to a bit of that. It's been testing times for everyone. Are you in Tier 4 where you are?
Yeah. Couldn't be any worse. I'm probably the last East London postcode. Right on the borders of Essex. 10 minutes walk from my house. It says "Welcome to Essex." So it's like the worst of both. Yeah, Tier 4 all the way.
Before we come on to some current events, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Premier League at the moment. Maybe a little focus on some of the managers. What with you being one of the most controversial football managers of all time, I think it would be nice to get your thoughts on some of the current Premier League managers. So let's start off on Manchester United. How do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done as manager of Manchester United?
Me personally, I think he's done really well. Maybe it's half an excuse to use this as a vehicle to plug the thing I do with Alan Hudson and Don Shanks, the Football Uncensored podcast. I had quite a heated debate with the two of them, and I think it's been all too easy to jump on the media bandwagon and try and stir up stuff, look for stories where there are non-stories, try and cause controversy, etc. And I think he's done well just to try and sort of dampen it down, temper it a little bit, keep his own counsel, and he's just got on with it. And then now, they third, something like that. Yeah. So I think there'd be a fair few. All right, we know they're one of the biggest supported clubs in the world, etc. But he's at the, like anyone really. When you're managing, he's had to juggle a lot of balls. He's had a lot of plates spinning all at once because reports off the field about different players stirring up trouble or their agents are. I think all in all, like he's done quite well. I mean, if they're third in a crisis, then if they get rid of all these, crises, if they get rid of them all, then they're in business, aren't they? As I said, I think episode 2 or 3, we've done about a dozen now. Football Uncensored podcast. I think we've done about a dozen. Episode 2 or 3 anyway, I got at it with Lord Hudson, and I was saying, that I think that he's being harshly judged and almost targeted by the media. That's that ilk you're talking about. That's their job, to look for stories, cause controversy, stir up controversy, provoke reaction, provoke thought, provoke comment, and I think he's just got on with it. At the start you could see it stressed him out because he sort of aged overnight. He went from the old nickname, the baby face assassin to he looks sort of probably 10 years older than what he is. But now he's like settled into the role and he looks quite relaxed, I think, knowing that he's got a cracking group of players.
Now, Paul Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola, has been quite vocal this season so far regarding his client's future. How would you have handled an agent like that if you was in charge of Manchester United?
Like Ferguson did. He refused to deal with him ever again. And, Man United are big enough to do that. What it needs, James, my personal opinion, I've been on about it for 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 years with regards to seeing the gradual domination, if you like, of agents. I think it's an abomination on the game. I'd go back to the old system with regards to scouting reports rather than DVDs and agents. Oh, yeah, still scouts, of course there are. But I'd go back to the old system with regards to having a trusted lieutenant who runs the rule over players after getting promising scouting reports. And why would you deal with an intermediary? You know what I mean? It's about dealing with, they can have an agent. But I think the player should pay the agent, not the clubs. I think something, I'm going back to last year, something obscene like $250 million, third of a billion, $250 million, gone out the game, never to be seen again. And I keep hearing this, duplicity, hypocrisy, nonsense and bullshit about grassroots football. Think what that could have done. Think of how many people that could have employed. Think of how many coaches that it could have employed, backroom staff, scouting, etc., etc. I'd have gone down that route that Ferguson went. I think once upon a time, I think I'm right in saying he refused to deal with him after there was a fallout or a change of art or something, and you don't do business like that. And then I think it's up to the player to come out and put any flames out. Because I've been through this, not in terms of agents, but like what you've got to understand, James, from the outside looking in, supporters like in and around any like corporation, but particularly professional football, there's more than its fair share. There's in actual fact, I'll go to the extreme and say there's an abundance of troublemakers. There's an abundance of people who they're trying to disrupt things, pull in different directions. You know what I mean? At any football club, it doesn't matter what the football, whether it's non-league, all the way up to Man United, everybody needs to share the load and they need to be pulling in the same direction. They need to trust the judgment of the manager, the coaches, the CEO, the director of football, whoever it is. I actually had a discussion on Twitter the other day about this with regards to a certain director of football at a London club, one of my former clubs actually. I've got no time for it. I've got to be honest. I think that the money being taken out of the game that's ending up, I don't know, Switzerland, the Bahamas, the Caymans, wherever. I just think it's abhorrent. I'll be honest with you. There's like for me, I don't know whether I'm being overly suspicious, over cautious, too outspoken. There's a lot of unsaid that needs to be said. But I don't see why I should be the one to put my head on the chopping block and say it with regards to how funds are moved around, etc., within the professional game. I think it's completely wrong. But that's just me. You know what I mean? I'm like King Canute here. You know what I mean?
Have Manchester United successfully replaced Lukaku, in your opinion? Do you still think that they could do with another big striker up front?
Man United? I think they're pretty well blessed in more or less every position. I think he's earmarked Luke Shaw. This goes back to the Jose period when he was having a ding dong with him about being overweight and unprofessional. There's times when he does well and he shows glimpses of what he's been capable of. Then there's other times you think to yourself, well, I don't know whether it's the kit or what, but he looks. He don't look like an athlete. He looks overweight. So if you start at the back, I'd cash in on De Gea. I would have cashed in on De Gea last year, although he had a magnificent game the other day. A couple of really magnificent saves. So if you start from the back, working your way forward, Maguire. At times he's making Van Dijk look cheap at 75 million, and there's other times when he's outstanding. I think the key, you look at Wan-Bissaka, I think he's found wanting. I heard a story from, in actual fact, it was public, it was on Talk Sport. It was, Cundy said he spoke to Ray Lewington, and he said the frustration of the forwards at Crystal Palace, no one could get past him. But I think he leaves a lot to be desired with regards to his movement going forward and his ability on the ball and imagination. But they've paid for 50 million for an out-and-out athlete, who's at times not a bad defender. It's his athleticism that gets him out of jail, put it that way. But there's been a couple of times this season when he's got caught the wrong side and it's led to a goal where he don't read the game quickly enough. I'm looking at midfield. He was outstanding. I think a lot of the time, Fernandes, he carries the team on his shoulders. I think he looks to be a magnificent professional, a superb player, a decent human being, a leader. McTominay is coming to the fore. Pogba, I think, like I said, he needed to step up and tell his agent to shut up and just say, leave me to get on with it. And he can, run his contract down if he wants. But in the meantime, play to the best of your ability and do the nasty side with they're not so nice. The hard side of like the closing down the chase and you're putting your foot in. What we used to call earning the right to play. Up front, Martial at Rashford. You've got the young kid. It's remiss of me to forget his name. The one who got in trouble with England. Yeah. I mean, a club like that, really and truly, they should either have. I've always maintained you should have a conveyor belt turning, so they should have another one coming up behind him, and or dip into the transfer market rather than rely on loans of someone like Cavani in his mid-30s. So, you know, but then again, you don't know what's available in the market. You know, I think there's a lot of teams in the same boat. Man United would only envisage wanting to buy the creme de la creme. You know, so they're in the same boat as quite a few other clubs where, you know, you don't know who's available, and if you're going to dip your toe in the market, you know, you're laying out hundreds of millions now. Best case scenario, tens of millions. So you need to know you're going to buy someone who's going to improve the squad, who's going to improve the front line.
If you were looking to sign someone for Manchester United, what players would you look to bring in the January transfer window?
I'd reinforce. I think they need another centre back. If I'm honest, it depends how you want to play. I had this discussion. Look, the best way I can answer this. No one's going to be in a better position than the Manchester United, Manchester City manager, and maybe the Chelsea manager. You can either pick a system to suit the players you've got, James, and then basically try and build on that with regards to the odd purchase or the odd player coming through the youth system. Or you can have an ideology and you can go out and buy players, obviously with the support of the people above, to fit into what you perceive to be your ideology and the perfect system that you want to play. This is where I think the problems are. You know, clubs like Arsenal, teams like Arsenal. So basically, you've got. There's only one or two ways to approach it, and that's either you can either take a medium and long term view where you're going to pick a system to suit the players and make do with what you got at the club, or you can buy success, and then if you're laying out money, you can actually look to buy players that fit in with your own personal ideology. You know, I think that answers that one. At the end of the day, he's got his way of playing, or there's the Man United way of playing, which is really, it's ancient history now. You know, 4-4-2, advancing into 4-2-4 with two wide men whipping crosses in Giggs and Beckham, and then at least one midfield player helping to flood the box. Them days are long gone. You know what I mean? So because you've got all these like weird and wonderful formations now.
Prediction for where Manchester United will finish this season?
They're probably the best they can hope for. They'll probably end up where they are now. I would think, and I think, I'll be honest, I think that's still not a bad achievement with all the stuff he's had to put up off the field, and I don't think the fear factor exists anymore at Old Trafford, as was shown earlier in the season with a couple of spankings. Palace and Spurs spring to mind. And then on top of that, you've got the renaissance at Liverpool, and then you've got the ongoing threat of the supposedly the best coach and the oil money at Manchester City, and then you've got one of my old clubs, Chelsea. So they're probably where they're or thereabouts where they are now.